Saying sorry isn't fully taking accountability. A big misconception is that accountability and an apology are the same thing, and they're not. Someone can say, I'm sorry, and still completely avoid taking responsibility for their actions. They can apologize while minimizing the impact. They can apologize while shifting blame. They can apologize while continuing to repeat the same behavior. And you feel the disconnect between the apology and the lack of accountability. So many people become quite skilled at identifying unhealthy relationship patterns while still feeling uncertain what healthy accountability actually looks like. So let's talk about what accountability looks like, feels like, and even sounds like. How to recognize when someone is taking responsibility for their actions. We all sometimes make poor decisions that end up hurting others. The goal isn't to become somebody who never causes harm, as that's impossible. The goal is to become someone who can acknowledge harm when it does occur. So, what actually is taking accountability? Taking accountability is the willingness to stay present with the impact of your actions, even when it's uncomfortable. Even when you didn't intend to do harm. Even when hearing that impact brings up shame, embarrassment, disappointment, or defensiveness. Because impact and intention are not always correlated. Healthy accountability can sound something like the following. I hear how when I said that, it hurt your feelings. I'm glad you told me. I'm sorry. And now I know that when I say ABC thing, it doesn't feel good for you. I will definitely keep that in mind for the future. And instead of saying ABC thing, I'll find a more thoughtful way to articulate how I feel. Or it could sound something like this. Thank you for telling me. Now I know that when I do XYZ thing, you feel left out. I'll make sure to include you before I make a decision on that next time. Notice what's happening in those two examples. The focus remains on understanding the other person's experience, on the impact of the actions, and on repairing the hurt. In contrast, taking accountability does not sound like you're too sensitive or that never happened, you're remembering it wrong. I did that because you also did that thing to me 2 weeks ago, or well, what about when you do this or that or the other thing? Notice how, in those examples, how quickly the focus shifts away from the impact and towards avoiding and blame shifting. It takes practice. It's not easy to receive feedback that your actions have hurt someone. Taking accountability often feels uncomfortable. It can mean sitting with guilt. It often calls for us to acknowledge that the impact of our actions were still hurtful despite our good intentions. And those good intentions don't minimize or cancel the hurt that our actions caused. Those good intentions are not a get out of jail free card. Taking accountability feels vulnerable. Allowing ourselves to remain present with the impact of our actions is raw. When someone is genuinely taking accountability, you'll often notice curiosity, active listening, an effort to understand. Not perfection, not rehearsed language, or not even necessarily the perfect apology, but genuine engagement, presence. Another component that is often overlooked is that taking accountability is not the finish line. It's the beginning of repair. Accountability says, I acknowledge the impact. And repair says, now what can we do moving forward? Words matter, and actions matter even more. Because trust is rebuilt through consistency. It's possible that as you're hearing these descriptions of healthy accountability, you may recognize its absence from the important people in your life, or perhaps even from you. And that can bring grief. It can bring clarity. It can highlight patterns that have existed for years. Relationships struggle to survive chronic avoidance of accountability. And if it feels right for you, I invite you to reflect on the following. When someone brings a concern to your attention, what happens inside of you? And when you've brought concerns to others, what happens next? Does the other person demonstrate curiosity, defensiveness? Do they take responsibility? Do they blame? Do they avoid? These moments often tell us a great deal about the health of a relationship. And again, healthy accountability is not about perfection. It's not about shame. It's the willingness to stay present with impact, acknowledge harm when it occurs, and move towards repair. And for many people, learning to recognize healthy accountability is just as important as learning to recognize manipulation. As always, take good care of yourself. You're so worth it.